Oh, good morning, Don.
G'day Henry, good to see you.
Well, I'm with Don Booth. He's the owner of A1 Aquarium World right here in beautiful Cranbrook at the Rossville Shopping Center. Don Booth, owner-operator. How are you today?
Great Henry, it's a lovely winter's morning and away we go again. It's
Well, I'm
gonna be
here.
a nice day.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm here for part 3 of Talking Fish. Now, the thing I want to ask you straight away is that, okay, people say there's something fishy going on around here, or he's a fishy character. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing, Don?
That's definitely a good thing, Henry. There's definitely something fishy going on around here.
Okay.
And I'm a fishy character. I've been a fishy character since I was a little guy. So yep, that's a good thing.
Oh, you're
Nothing
talking
wrong
to
with that.
fish. You're talking fish for sure. Okay. Now look. I thought to myself, I want to regress. I want to regress all the way back to when I was a little boy in Baltimore over in the USA. I'm at the bottom of the food chain. I don't have much money, but I want to get me some fish. How much money would I need today, Don, just to get started? I don't mean a big aquarium or some of these exotic fish that I see that you have here. I'm just talking goldfish. Is it a geographical thing? Or why do I feel as though my first fish should be a goldfish as opposed to you're saying fighter fish and all these other fish that I've never heard of?
I think, Henry, because we've grown up with the knowledge that goldfish in a bowl is the way to start, and that's a cheap way to start, but we don't recommend goldfish in a bowl because they don't do very well in a bowl. Actually, it's not the best way to start off with a goldfish, but a small tank of around about 20 litres with some filtration and a little light will be under $100.
Okay.
And that's the way to start off with a goldfish if you want to start off with a goldfish. But people also know that there are tetras, like neon tetras, which is the most popular fish in Australia. It's sold the most, neon tetras. They can also start off in a small tank for less than $100. And of course then we have Siamese fighters, which is probably the third most popular fish, which we can start off for around about $20.
Well, that's interesting, Don, because now that we're in the 21st century, I just feel like, well, maybe I'm out of touch. But $100 when I was about 10 years of age, as a lot of car washing and a lot of lawns I had to cut to try to get half of that amount, $50. So all I remember is having a little bag, plastic bag, with water, 2 goldfish in it, and I was happy as Larry with my first 2 fish.
Yep, you're pretty much a standard kid. The kids love goldfish, they love tetras, and they love fighters too. So all of those things are great to start with. And it's a good animal or pet to start with when you're learning how to look after, have responsibility of looking after a pet. The maintenance is low and the upkeep is low.
Okay.
Of course, when you go on holidays, there's not so much trouble as you might be, not so much to worry about as you would for a dog or a cat.
Okay. Now the thing is, look, what I really want to get down to, I would really want to pin down to, okay, I really believe that the best favor a parent could do for their kids in the 21st century is get their kids a fish.
Yes.
A fish, because the kids I see nowadays, all they seem to be preoccupied with are their telephones. And I think that if you can get a kid some fish, you'll be able to sow the seeds of responsibility at a very young age. Now, that's my opinion, Don. I'm not saying that's fact, but would you agree or disagree with that?
No, I'd agree with that, Henry. It's not just responsibility, and that's a good thing to teach them. It's a good way of getting them away from their phones and learning about animal life, and we're learning about, just how to look after and care for animals and wildlife in general. So it puts them back to, in some ways, a little bit back to nature. Okay?
Okay, but a lot of parents would say, oh, I teach my kids all about pets. We go camping, and the dads would say, I take them fishing all the time. But it's not the same.
It's not the same. And it's a wonderful hobby, and it's a relaxing hobby to have as well. So it's not the same as going fishing, because you're not, even though you might put the fish back, a lot of the times they come home and go on the dinner plate. This is your own little pet, and it's a child's own responsibility to look after that tank.
That word hobby. Now, collecting stamps, collecting coins, now to me, that's a hobby. How can owning a fish become a hobby, Don? I mean, you don't want it to become a hobby. You want to actually, that fish becomes a part of your environment, a part of your family. Would you agree?
It does, and in many cases that actually does occur, but it's still a hobby, Henry, because you can collect fish too. You can expand on the goldfish. There's so many different types of those, and you can move into other forms of fish like the tetras, as we said, and there's hundreds of those. So you can collect fish as well, and still look after them.
Okay.
It's done. They can still all be pets.
Now, speaking of looking after, with a dog or a cat, because they can roam around freely in the household environment, they can interact with members of the family. Oftentimes, one person might say, "Oh, poor Poodle or Frenchie, he needs some food." So they give him some food. Then Frenchie realizes that if I can find somebody else, I could get food. I could get fed twice. So Frenchie goes to see somebody else in the family, and he gets fed twice. Pets, dogs and cats, they're very clever when it comes to, interacting with people and getting their food. But the poor fish, they're limited in their environment. They can't interact with a whole lot of people in the household. And particularly if you have them, let's say, in your bedroom, your private environment, the only one that can judge when that fish needs to be fed is you. And the only one that fish depends upon is only one that the fish depends upon getting fed is you.
Yes.
So it teaches you, to me, the ultimate responsibility.
That's correct. That is true, Henry. And particularly if it is in your bedroom, that fish does rely on whoever owns that fish, whether it's a child or an adult, to feed them. The fish will recognize its owner. Even the small fish do that. They'll come to the side. But if it's outside the bedroom or somewhere out in the middle of the lounge room, the fish will come to the side usually when there's anybody walking by, and they'll say, basically put up their fin and say, "Feed us, please." And you've got to be careful you don't overfeed, because they'll do that repeatedly. They learn like a dog or a cat. If they rush to the side and swim around, people will feed them.
Are you joking, Don? You're talking fish, for sure. Come on.
We're definitely talking fish, Henry, but they're smart enough to know, rush to the side, and they'll feed us.
Okay. Off to a different subject. This thing about goldfish. Now, unless I'm colorblind, most of the fish that are considered goldfish, the color looks orange. Why are they called goldfish?
I think, Henry, that's a very good point, but I think the original goldfish was a dollar color, and it was more of a golden color, a goldy looking to it. And over time, they bred the color into them. So the original goldfish back 200 or 300 years was more golden color.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I guess that color has been faded out.
Yes.
These days, and it's becoming bright orange.
It is brighter. It's a brighter orange. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I have a really tricky question for you, Don. I have a very logical mind. If a goldfish is supposedly gold, well, we already decided it's orange. What color is a silverfish?
I guess it's going to be silver.
Okay. Well, Don, I don't see any silverfish in your tank.
There are some silverfish, Henry, but they're pretty plain. Most people like these lovely colours that we see behind us, white, yellow, and blue.
I got you now, Don. I got you, Don. I got you now. We're talking fish. A silverfish is an insect.
That's it.
It's not a fish. So I was just thinking, why do we have goldfish? And then I'm thinking, there's a silverfish crawling on the floor. It does look like a fish, but it's not a fish. It's an insect.
That's right.
You just learned something today.
I did indeed, Henry.
We're talking fish. Okay, now the other thing I wanted to ask you was, okay, a little bit of trivia about fish. What part of the world were fish first discovered, Don?
That's a very good question, Henry. And I'm sure it would be somewhere through Asia. Where the goldfish come from.
That's right. That's
sure.
East Asia, to be exact. That's good. I've done my homework. I've did a little bit of research. I just had to impress you with that. Goldfish come from East Asia, and it's our next door neighbor. So there's a lot of goldfish out there. Now the other thing is I want to ask you is that, okay, I went to visit a friend last week, and I'm convinced, just from that conversation, that there is some therapeutic value of owning a fish. It does have some type of psychological value as far as creating that serenity or tranquility that you need in your life. I know we talked about that in part one, but I want to emphasize again the emotional connection of owning a fish.
I think it's very true, Henry. It's across the board for children and adults. It is a very calming effect, and even when maintaining a tank, it can be like gardening, which is a very calming, serene sort of feeling. You also the bubbling, running water sound is often calming, and children with anxiety sitting in front of a fish tank will often calm them down.
Okay.
So it's a very calming. You're absolutely right. It's a calming and relaxing thing, and a de-stressing thing, particularly if everything's going wonderful for you and it looks nice. You've got greenery, or you've got corals, you've got the gentle movement of the fish and the gentle movement of the plants. It's definitely a calming and relaxing effect on the owner.
Okay. In today's educational environment, where I'm talking schools, think about those stressful teachers dealing with this wide variety of kids, or I should say young people. And, back in my day, an apple for the teacher was a gesture that you could show a teacher that you really cared for. I reckon today, a goldfish for a teacher would be a perfect gift to put in a bowl and put on the teacher's desk. And whenever she felt stressed while you were taking the test, she could just look at her goldfish and become totally relaxed. What do you say about that?
I think that's a great idea, Henry. We put them in a little fish tank rather than a bowl, though, and we'd have a little filter, and that's a great de-stressor for the teacher and for the children, I think, too.
Well, think about all those patients going to, or all those people who are ill that go to see their family doctors, and they're sitting in the waiting room, waiting for their medical appointments. What a way to relax, just sitting there and watching the fish.
Yep.
So there you go, doctors out there, get some fish for your offices. Make your patients relaxed. Why make them suffer through stress? We're talking fish, and I'm here with Don Booth. Now, Don, you've been in this business for over 40 years.
Yeah, well, if you take back when I started, when I was 10 years old, over 40 years now, but I've owned this business for now 16, and it is time to move on.
Okay, it's time to move on. Now, I've heard through the grapevine that the business is up for sale. Are you looking?
It sure is, Henry. It is up for sale, and I'm looking for a new owner to take over with the same passion I've had for these last 16 years.
That passion, that's the person you have to find. You have to find someone, not so much with the money, but you want to find somebody with the passion, because you want that self-satisfaction of knowing the fish are getting looked after.
That's correct, Henry.
Would that be true?
And the business keeps going as it has, and maybe gets bigger and better than it ever has been with a new owner.
Okay, when I look around this beautiful shop of yours, A1 Aquarium World, you've been here for 16 years. Tell me if you have any unusual fish stories. What's happened in this store of yours over the last 16 years? I mean, like, I think you actually talked about one night you were here by yourself and you heard a sound and you thought it was a burglar. Tell us about that.
I don't know whether I thought it was a burglar, but it sounded like a knock on the door, though, because I was in my office. And that actually was a crayfish trundling along outside my front door of the office there. So he got out of the tank and he'd walked a long way, probably 15 meters, to visit me in my office. So I had to pop him back in his tank.
Now, if that's not talking fish, I don't know what is. Now, what did you do when you saw the crayfish? Were you a bit dumbfounded or astounded that he got out the tank and came down to the office, or?
I was a bit surprised, but I was glad it was just a crayfish and not a burglar.
Okay.
So we just picked him up and popped him back in, and he was good as gold.
Okay.
He's gone for a little walk on his own.
All right, that's a good one. Now, they say that a cat has 9 lives. Have you ever experienced a fish that you thought passed on to a better place, and you almost gave him, well, you couldn't give him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, but you gave him some CPR, and suddenly the fish came back to life and lived happily ever after? Has that ever happened?
Oh, that probably has happened, Henry, because we do have fish that sometimes do get sick, and we do treat them with antibiotics and all sorts of other things to try and make them better. And so sometimes, yes, you've get lucky, I hope, or the fish gets lucky, and you can make a fish that's sick and on its way out healthy again.
Is that
it
right?
comes back to, though, a lot of the thing, it comes back to good water quality, and keeping them warm during the winter and cooler in the summer. That's what it comes back to.
So you're like the fish doctor.
Yeah, I can be the fish doctor at sometimes, yes.
But you would have to know what to look for.
Yes, you do have to know what to look for. There are various signs. They can't talk to us like
Yes.
a cat or a dog, but there are various signs and various illnesses that present themselves that you can say, okay, that's that. We need to treat with this. Or, yes, that fish looks like it's got a water quality problem, so we need to check the water, and if it's off, not doing well, we need to change the water. So yes, there are various signs that tell us what the problem is.
Okay, now, speaking of water and the water quality, let's say my little fish bowl is kind of cloudy, and I notice that it needs to be cleaned. So I take the fish out, and I change the water. I go to the tap, I pour the water, nice clear water, put the fish back in, and then about 15, 20 minutes later, the fish are looking pretty sad. What causes that?
That's because the tap water has chlorine in it for our safety, to kill bad bugs, so we don't drink bad bugs, but unfortunately that also kills fish. So you must always dechlorinate the water, so before the fish come into it. So let's say you did take your goldfish out of his fish tank, you would put him in a bucket of dechlorinated water.
Oh.
You would clean his tank, then you would fill his tank back up and dechlorinate the water, then scoop him out of the bucket and put him back in his tank.
Well, that sounds so. Well, how would I know that? I mean, I'm only 10 years old. How would I know what the term dechlorinated means? I mean, how would I know these things?
But you're a smart fellow, Henry, even at 10 years old, and you've done your research, and you know that the tap water has chlorine in it, and you know you need some dechlorinator. But otherwise, you can come and see me, and I'll tell you all about it.
Okay. And so, what else do you sell? Okay, you have all the things that you need to make your water livable. What else do you sell here at A1 Aquarium World that can help the maintenance of a fish? I mean, that most your everyday fish owner would need.
Yeah,
what else do you carry?
Absolutely. The dechlorinator is the most important, but then maybe a pH test kit is very important. Fish like the right pH of their water, and the kits are quite simple to use. A child can use them, and they're quite cheap.
Yep.
So we sell that as well, and we sell a variety of other kits which are very helpful to avoiding problems. So we sell ammonia test kits, and we sell nitrite test kits and nitrate test kits. All these things help keep a healthy environment in the aquarium, and it keeps you, if you check these things, it stops the water from going bad on the fish. So,
Okay, well, just from your description of the things that you need and the things that you sell here at A1 Aquarium World, it seems like you need to be a little bit more intellectual than your average cat owner or a dog owner if you own a fish.
I don't know about that, but you do need to there's a few more gadgets, I guess, that you would use, a good fish owner would use, than you would with a dog or a cat, I guess, because you do need to monitor water quality, and it's wise to have those test kits, but the test kits are very, very simple. Children can use them, and they give an immediate result, and you can take immediate action if there's a problem.
Yeah, but what I mean is, if if a cat was thirsty, you just go to the tap, you pour some water, you put it down, he drinks it. You don't worry about whether it's chlorinated or not. You just give the cat some water. You give the dog some water. Give the cat some milk. But the fish, you have to know a little bit more than your average pet owner.
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
Yeah, you have to learn a little bit more, and it really does help if you do a little bit of background research before you buy your pet.
Okay. Speaking of talking fish, I heard that you have some fish here that can actually talk, and I've heard about this character. I met him or her the last time I was here, Rose. So let's go see how Rose is doing, and you tell me a little bit about Rose.
Okay, we'll have a bit of a chat to Rose. There we go.
Now, Don, you have a lot of fish here, but the one I seem to have an affinity for is this fella right here, Guami. Now, Guami, tell me a little bit about Guami. How old is he, for starters?
Well, this Guami is still young, but she's 15 years old now.
15!
And they come throughout Southeast Asia, through Indonesia and Malaysia and those areas.
Okay. So is it male or female, Don?
We believe it's a female, Henry. The males get a lot bigger than this one. So this one's about 50 centimeters. The males can get up to a meter long.
Now, I saw another fish in there. I don't know where it's gone to, but it seems like it went into one of your little caves down there.
Yes, there's some cleaning fish in there, some clown loaches, and we have a big catfish down the back that cleans the walls for us. So it just helps keep Rose's tank nice and clean.
Well, I thought you said that the big fish eat the smaller fish. I mean, Rose is the biggest fish I've ever seen.
But she's a gentle giant. Big fish usually do eat little fish, and that's a very good point. So you've got to be very careful what you combine in a fish tank. But Rose is a gentle giant, and as a general rule, she's not interested in little fish. She's just more interested in us and her veggies.
So would you sell Rose?
No, we never sell Rose. She's part of the family here. She belongs to the shop, and the customers enjoy coming to see her as well. All the kids like to play with her and have a look through her at the glass, just like you do, Henry.
I tell you what, this fish is the most magnificent fish I have ever seen. And already it seems like the fish has hypnotized me with those big bright yellow eyes.
Yeah, and the calming movement of the fins. It's just a very gentle, calming pastime having fish.
Speaking of calming with the fins, if a dog's happy, it wags his tail, right? If a cat's happy, falls down. But with a fish, if a fish was happy to see you, would it flap its fins really quick?
Actually, sometimes they do. They will come and splash at the top of the surface of the tank and things like that. They all move together, and they do that actually.
Okay. Rose, I tell you, you're lucky you're not for sale, because I would try my best to buy you. Would you take checks?
Sorry, Henry. She's all ours.
I'll check you later then.
Okay.
Okay. Now, one last thing I want to ask you is, I see these ornaments inside your fish tank. Do you have things that people can buy to kind of dress up their tanks, their fish bowls? Could you show us something?
We sure do, Henry. Just behind you over there, there's a whole range of ornaments to dress up people's fish tanks. And some of them look very realistic these days. Others bubble air and things like that, just like, just for the fun of it. So we have all those sorts of things for people's fish tanks.
Well, Don, I tell you what, all good things must come to an end, including the episode of Talking Fish. But it's been so much of a pleasure to chat with you, to learn about fish, and hopefully when someone takes over this place, it's someone that truly has a passion for fish, just like you, which I know that's going to be hard to find, but I really hope that somebody comes forward, because these fish are absolutely magnificent, and I can see how you've been attracted to fish for over the last 40 years.
Thank you, Henry. It's been great talking fish with you.
Thank you for your time, and remember, we were just talking fish. I'm with Don Booth from A1 Aquarium World, right here in Cranbrook at the Rossville Shopping Center. You can.
That's great.